Hi, I have a read here on Sean Hannity, who I just personally have such animosity toward in my personal life because my dad just loves him and just like becomes him when you try to argue or discuss politics. And it's like incredibly frustrating. My dad was always a Republican, and which was always frustrating, but he was like more reasonable and normal. And I mean, we've seen what like the Hannitys and conservative media like have turned people just into so childish and putting on blinders and just like it's like sport. It just has become like right and wrong has just become a sport of win or lose. It's just like the worst, basest instincts of people being like sort of inspired by like a Sean Hannity. And I read on him because I always want to see that there's going to be some consequence to him. And I haven't had that satisfaction. I thought I would read on him again because this article came out. There's a new study suggesting that Sean Hannity's show helped spread the coronavirus. I'll put a link to this article. It's from Vox, Vox, not Fox, but Vox. And I thought, that's interesting. Maybe some things changed, but so yeah, one of the things that my dad will say, if I send him like a Washington Post article, and he'll just say, "This is liberal media." He won't look at the Washington Post or any other media that isn't, I guess, conservative media, which I think just exists to antagonize the real things happening in just the real news and to spread propaganda. So it's just basically he just won't look at what's really happening. I don't know. I hope it's shifting a little. I mean, they are like taking the precautions seriously with this illness, which I'm glad about. So it makes me wonder, and it might be time to ask sometime soon, like, what do they think of how Fox has handled this coronavirus? I mean, this could be the downfall of them. I hope so. And then the irony, of course, being that Fox News is not news. There are a couple news like classified as news shows on Fox. Like one of them was like a Shep Smith. It's always the one that Trump gets mad about, or like that Napoleano. He's like an actual news show, but the other ones are opinion shows. And like CNN and MSNBC, it's like actually the other way around. About 80% of those shows are legit like news reporting of the news. And that means there are certain regulations and standards that they have to follow that like a Sean Hannity does not have to follow. He's just an opinion show who's posing as a news show. He poses as a newsman. He sits there like he's a series anchor, and and he lets the, breaking news banners and all that, but he's literally theater. And it blows my mind that how fooled people are by this whole network being news when it's just opinion, and the opinion that they're spewing out is just to call real news fake news or to call it biased and all of this. It's such a scam, and even like smart people, like we almost just like assume it's just another news. It's not. It's a mess, and that he goes out there and pretends to be news and calls real news fake news. It's just ridiculous. So what I wanted to see here in this read is like, doing a little bit of a deep dive here. And especially I got into it because this was the first card that came up. And someone who like loathes and can't stand, Sean Hannity, to see the Sun card. It's like, that's Sean Hannity, really? And so I read this as like that he doesn't have a lot of layers. He doesn't have a lot of depth. There isn't actually a whole lot of darkness. I don't think he's like a sadistic person. Like when I read on Bill Barr, and I saw these two as similar in the fact that they discovered early on that they're really good at arguing and they get attention and audience from it and identity from it. But like Bill Barr, it comes from like a dark place, and there is like a sadistic sort of streak there, or a big, and it's like everything with him is just like secrets and shadows. And with Sean Hannity, it's just like pure confidence. No apologies whatsoever. He has every right in the world to do whatever he wants. And like And like, okay, so I see this as also, these are the lawsuits that are piling up on him right now, I believe, especially with this coronavirus stuff. And he just, and here I see like his spin. This is upside down magician. Like, this is the most powerful card. It's upside down. He's just and I see this infinity sign. It's just like he never stops spinning, never stops, never stops. And it's just like a sport. Like, I feel the adrenaline. I think the sun is also like this adrenaline that he gets pumped up in the people who follow him also. And that's one thing like about my dad when he talks about him. It's like he's tuning into his favorite sports show or something. I mean, it's like that, I think of like the arena, the gladiator arena where they just like beat up on someone and it's like, yeah. And that's, I feel like, what his show is. And I feel like he kind of knows what his show is. I don't think he has a lot, like, I think he knows he's an entertainer. I see him as like a kid on the playground, and he was like this same kid. And now, yeah, where he'd have a little group around him, and he'd go around and just like walk around and like it's like he was popular, but he was just kind of a jerk. Like, he'd go around and antagonize people, and they'd be like, all right, buddy, take care. You know, like, it's like people who sue him, I feel like, you know, they hate him, and if they actually like had to meet him, he'd be like, congratulations for suing me. I think that's great. I think that's the American way and good for you. And you'd sit there and go like, wait, I'm trying to hate this guy, and he's like hugging me and shaking my hand or whatever, and like patting me on the back. Like, he just has that charming personality, and like walks into a room and is just like nice to everybody. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe we'll find out. Maybe he's a nasty, dark, abusive guy. I don't know, but I think he might know that he's a game. He's playing games. But it's a game, so it's like it's a game. Like, I thought of this quote in a movie, Breakfast at Tiffany's, where somebody calls the main character, she's a phony, but she's a real phony. And that's what I think Sean Hannity is. He's a phony, but he's a real phony. I think he thinks everybody just picks a persona and goes with it and then uses it to make money. And I think that's a big part of what is behind him. Like, does he have, you know, a dark brotherhood of, you know, like secret society, like, you know, world dominate? I think he just wants to make money, be popular. I see him like, I kept seeing him like on a big giant speedboat. And I wonder if he's a little guy, because I keep thinking he's like a little guy. He probably had like big brothers, and his parents I think probably worked a lot. I don't think he was a rich kid, so they didn't like discipline him too much, and he just sort of like had this personality. I think they would have called him precocious, and he was able to make people laugh with his ability to argue. And I think that's how he flirted with like girls, just by like just the ultimate like, I'm gonna be mean and then get excited that she's got a rise out of her. Like, but he like kind of does it with like a half smile or something. He thinks it's charming. I don't know that he not realize that the damage he's done in families who can't even communicate with their, you know, loved ones anymore. And also to the country with Trump. I just think he sees it as a game and a sport. I just don't see a lot beyond that. And yeah, that image of him with on the boat. And I don't know if that's like real that he's a boat guy, but if he was a boat guy, he would want the biggest boat, the most expensive boat. Like, I'm thinking like $250,000 boat. And it's just so loud, and everyone's trying to enjoy the lake, but he just keeps going around in circles in this giant boat. But he's like waving to everybody, and he's like, you want to ride my boat? Like, he's just like that personality where you like hate him, but he's still this positive guy. You know, he doesn't care that it's hurting the lake, you know, with all that gas. He doesn't care that it bothers anyone. He just thinks it's great and awesome. And that's where I wonder if it's actually just trying to tell me maybe he's not really a boat guy, but that he, that's what drives him in his show and his, you know, what he's doing in the world, is he likes that feeling. Even if maybe he's not a big guy, but he's got a big boat. And it's the loudest, and there's a freedom to just not caring who you hurt. It's that freedom. And so, like, yeah, just pure confidence. Covered by, yeah, some lawsuits. Yeah, confidence, adrenaline. The lawsuits. Yeah, so I think he has a woman hovering over him. Fox News, I think, has a woman who's in charge of programming or something like that. She's sort of like a boss figure and is trying to restrain him. So he is being restrained in certain ways, and I think it bothers him, and I feel like he does not like her. And by the way, I tried to look into, like, is his racism and sexism, like, how real is that, or does he use it because he knows it, it's one of those, like, that he taps into it in his audience to sort of play up on that, to upset them and get them riled up. And I feel like he almost, like, plays on adrenaline. But like the racism thing, like, I'm like, does he really go home at night when he'll say 1,000 times in a week that for instance, the the caravan of immigrants are coming and they're going to cross the border, and it's just a horror and a terror and the worst thing ever. But like, he just goes home. He's not, like, actually sitting around in his private moments worried about the caravan. He doesn't wake up in the middle of the night worried about these things. It's just, like, part of the sport of what he's doing, I think. And the sexism, like, I think there's some of that. He doesn't like having a woman boss. He'll like a woman who is sort of one of the boys, is sort of his thing. Obviously, he hated, and I thought a lot about, like, the Hillary Clinton thing. And I actually found it very interesting because I'm like, was that what was it? And again, it falls into, like, the category of just the sport of beating up on her. She's just an easy target. And I feel like, actually, in fact, when Donald Trump won, that was not what what Hannity had anticipated or even really wanted. He fully expected and saw a huge future for himself on his show, being the one that every day could just find a new thing to beat up Hillary Clinton and everyone that she picked. I mean, it would have just been the easiest job in the world. It is harder and not as fun for him to have to support and defend Donald Trump and everything he's doing. It's harder for him. He doesn't enjoy sticking up for someone as much as he enjoys bashing someone. That's the fun. And especially because, I mean, so much of what Donald Trump does is just very hard to defend. And it's just like, it's a lot easier to be an antagonizer. So anyway, if there's any satisfaction in that I don't think he enjoys having to defend Donald Trump. That's what I see, I think. So in the past, I see, well, first of all, I think that he might be losing his job or that the network is going to go down. But I'm going to say that is for him. I especially feel like the dark cloud coming in. There's, like, something coming in that is going to cloud his show. And, maybe it's just as simple as he's going to get fired. He's going to have to go. Maybe some of these articles, these studies really are going to eventually take him down, take him out, to have a different kind of show. I mean, I do at the end see, he's the King of Pentacles. He's still not, he's not, like, lowering his status in any way. So maybe he has to start a new show or on a new network or something like that. I do see it in the past that he's a money guy. He enjoys money. He didn't grow up rich, I don't think. And then I think but he likes hanging with the rich boys and investing with the rich boys. And if you remember Trump's lawyer, Cohen, finding out that Trump's lawyer, his other client being Hannity, it's just so weird. And you find out, I mean, I remember just finding it, like, really weird and uncomfortable and, like, not a good look for him. Like, I mean, I don't like him anyway, but for people who do like him to hear that he, uses his money to buy up all these properties in poor towns, like, isn't, that he's supposed to be, like, cheering for. I mean, that should have opened some eyes, that he's not, like, out there trying to, like, build up small towns. He's just buying up small towns so he can be like with like the super elites, even though he pretends that liberals are the elites. He just turns everything upside down. But, you know, whereas Bill Barr does the same thing, but there's darkness, this guy is just like, just no depth or layers, just pure sunshine. I don't know how to, you know, like, I don't think he's a good person, but I do think he's got confidence, a lot of confidence. And spin. Confidence and spin keeps him going, keeps him feeling good. As far as does he respect his audience, I see his audience as those kids at the schoolyard surrounding him, and that's what he likes his audience for. You know, I don't know if you call that loving his audience, but just liking them for that reason. Here I see him, you know, here we've got the article that I referenced, that his stories are worsening the coronavirus, causing more deaths. You know, it's here. His stories and more deaths. It's a fact. Do I think it's going to bother him? No, I could hear him being like, everybody's responsible for themselves. I'm an entertainment show. You know, like he knows that he's not accountable because he's not a real news show. You know, I was just saying what I thought in the moment. I'm allowed to do that on my show. Like, he just knows he's going to skate out of it. I wish that he felt more consequence. But, you know, I mean, maybe it really does fall to us, to the people who had watched him. They should have known better. They should have known by then. All the evidence is there, and people need to be smarter and not pay attention to, like, liars. And, you know, it's like, is it his fault? Or is it the fault of people who get like pulled in by his little circus that he does? You know, maybe they shouldn't have enjoyed his sport so much. There's nothing that stops people if they're able to watch that to watch other things. So, you know, maybe he's right. Maybe it's not really his fault because he just is allowed to say what he wants to say. People should know better. Yeah, hopes and fears. He just knows he's got the spin. He already's prepared for anything that comes his way. These being all the like elements in place. And then yeah, so King of Pentacles. It's like really that's the ending of the read, is that he like lands solid on his feet, still the king, still a king. And this was underneath at the time, you know, acknowledging, you know, he's a sneaky guy. He knows some things. He's done some sneaky things. Again, it wouldn't be something that weighs on him. He has every right to be a sneaky guy if he wants to be a sneaky guy, that kind of thing. He's just like Mr. Alpha, top dog, winner, winning. As long as he's winning, that feels good to him. And then so I pulled a couple more cards to see if maybe next to the king we'd see some consequence. And I get the star and the ace of pentacles, just confirming, like, he'll just keep going on. He'll be a star at another show, another network, maybe another opportunity, and then just making more money. So, I mean, pretty interesting kind of to just like, it kind of makes sense. So if we want to, yeah, that there aren't like exactly the layers, and that's that guy. God, it feels right. If we want to feel like there's something, you know, I think there's something coming here, possibly getting fired, and maybe something will come out in Cohen's book when I don't know if he'll have anything on his other client, Hannity. But again, Hannity knows he's got it all covered. He just doesn't feel like he has to be a good guy. He's an entertainer. He has his opinions. What else? Oh yeah, so you can enjoy that maybe there might be a firing coming his way, and that I don't think he likes having to defend Donald Trump. I don't even think really wanted Trump to win. He just wanted to use it as fuel for his fire, to fire up all those viewers so he could keep making his money. So that's my read on Hannity. Thanks for being there to let me share it with you guys. Let me know if you have any thoughts on what you saw in the read. Feel free to comment, and otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.